I never imagined that pressing a panic button would lead to neighborhood-wide chaos and a criminal charge against our HOA president. But that's exactly what happened the day Karen Whitfield decided she had the authority to break into my home using a fake master key. I was miles away, speaking to clients overseas, while my 12-year-old son, Leo, stood calmly inside, watching it all unfold. What Karen didn't know was that every move she made was being recorded, and those recordings would be her undoing. My name is Marcus Chen, a single dad and software engineer who thought moving to Willowbrook Estates would offer peace, safety, and a fresh start. 3 months ago, Leo and I packed up our small apartment and moved into this gated community filled with picturesque homes, freshly cut lawns, and what I naively assumed was a normal HOA. Instead, we walked into a world run by Karen Whitfield, a woman who confused her volunteer title with absolute power. Karen introduced herself within hours of our moving in. She showed up with a clipboard and a disapproving glance at our moving boxes, offering thinly veiled warnings about maintaining standards. At first, I brushed it off as typical suburban politics, but that changed the moment she laid eyes on Leo walking home alone from the bus stop one afternoon. As I unloaded groceries, Karen marched up our driveway and, in her trademark tone of forced concern, said, "Single fathers often struggle with child supervision. Maybe you should consider after-school care." I politely explained that Leo was 12, mature for his age, and that I worked remotely, monitoring him through our home's smart security system. She offered a smile that never reached her eyes and walked away, but I could feel it. This wasn't the end. Days later, she knocked again, claiming the HOA had rules forbidding children under 16 from being left home alone. I asked for the bylaw. She said it was under revision. The document never came. What had come, however, was an increase in Karen's surveillance. Every weekday around 3:45 p.m., her silver SUV would appear. Sometimes she'd slow roll past her house. Other times she'd park across the street. Leo, creeped out, once asked me if she was trying to kidnap him. We both started keeping track, times, photos, even doorbell cam footage. But nothing prepared us for what happened that Tuesday in October. I was locked in a critical video meeting with Japanese clients when alerts started flooding my phone. Door sensor. Motion at front door. Failed key entry attempt. Then Karen's voice came through our security speaker, demanding that Leo open this door immediately. I switched from disbelief to panic in seconds. Through our security app, I watched her on camera jamming a key into our front door. She shouted that she was conducting a welfare check as the HOA president. Leo stayed calm, even as Karen banged on the door. He activated our emergency lockdown, a feature I installed after moving here, which sealed all doors and windows and triggered full camera recording. Then he called me. "Dad, that Karen lady is trying to get in. She says she has a key, but it won't work." "You did the right thing," I said, heart pounding. "Stay put. I'll take care of it." Through the speaker, I told Karen she was trespassing and to leave immediately. That's when she made her biggest mistake. She called 911. She claimed an abandoned child was inside and in danger. The dispatcher told me, when I called to explain the truth, officers are already en route. I ended my call, dropped everything, and raced home. The 15-minute drive felt endless. When I arrived, 2 police cruisers were already in front of my house. Officer Martinez and Officer Thompson stood on the porch, arms crossed, as Karen gestured wildly and told her version of the story. Paced frantically, waving her phone and ranting about negligent parenting, Karen pointed at me as I stepped out of the car. Leo, meanwhile, had spoken to the officers through our Ring camera, telling them he was fine, doing homework, and didn't want to open the door to a stranger. "That's the father," Karen shouted. "He abandoned his child." Officer Martinez's expression didn't change. "Sir," he said calmly, "can we hear your side?" "Of course," I replied, unlocking the front door with my actual key. Karen's so-called master key dangled uselessly in her hand. I let the officers inside. Leo was at the kitchen table with a notebook, pencil, and textbook open. He even waved at them. The officers checked to ensure he was safe. He had food, water, and access to communication. Then I showed them the security footage. They watched as Karen approached our door, tried to use a key, failed repeatedly, and then called 911, claiming there was an emergency. Her face in the video was furious, not concerned. When Officer Thompson asked where the key had come from, Karen's explanation fell apart. It was from a maintenance visit months ago for emergencies, she stammered. You duplicated a homeowner's key without permission? He asked. She blinked. It's HOA policy. Produce the policy, Officer Martinez said. She couldn't. I then showed the file I had compiled, dates of Karen's surveillance runs, screenshots of her harassing me over imaginary rules, and testimony from neighbors, including Mrs. Rodriguez across the street, who had recorded Karen sitting in her car for over 20 minutes watching our house. The officers asked more questions, this time directed at Karen. Her confidence began to falter. The words false report, unlawful entry, and trespassing were used. She turned pale. Neighbors had begun to gather, pretending to check their mail or water their lawns while clearly watching. Phones were out. I knew it would hit Facebook within the hour. When asked again for any bylaw that allowed her access to private homes, Karen mumbled that the document was at her house. Officer Thompson wasn't amused. No HOA agreement overrides state property laws, he said. Ma'am, you're being cited for unlawful attempted entry and filing a false emergency report. Karen sputtered. You can't. I'm the president. Irrelevant, Officer Martinez said, writing the citation. I told the officers I'd be pressing charges. When I mentioned that my attorney would contact them, Karen visibly sagged. The next HOA meeting was packed like never before. Jacob Morrison, my attorney who specializes in HOA cases, accompanied me. He presented the evidence to the board in a calm, detailed manner. Karen sat stiffly at the head of the table, flanked by board members who were suddenly silent. Jacob pointed out not only the key duplication, but also the emotional harm done to Leo and the misuse of police resources. He requested a full key audit. Tom Bradley, the treasurer, admitted Karen had never received board approval for any key policy. Sarah Kim, the secretary, produced meeting minutes proving that Karen's motion for home access rights had been denied. The vote of no confidence was unanimous. Even her supporters turned when the results were announced. Karen stood abruptly. You'll regret this. Without me, this neighborhood will fall apart. She stormed out to silence. It didn't stop there. Karen was fined $5,000 for false reporting. The unauthorized key duplication led to misdemeanor charges. Her real estate license was suspended pending review. We filed a civil lawsuit for harassment and emotional damages, and won. She was ordered to pay $15,000 and was banned from ever holding an HOA office again. A restraining order prohibited her from coming within 100 feet of our home. I'll never forget the sentencing hearing. She stood in court, stripped of power, her carefully manicured image in ruins. The judge listed her offenses one by one. When the bailiff explained the terms of her probation, Karen broke down. The woman who tried to rule our neighborhood with fear and fake authority was now just another cautionary tale. And all of it started because my 12-year-old son knew how to push the panic button. If you believe that no one, not even an HOA president, should have a master key to your home, hit that like button. And if you want more stories where entitled power gets put in its place, make sure to subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next.